Jay Walimba for that brief introduction. And I am absolutely delighted to be here tonight so that we can be able to discuss one of the most neglected areas of career development. The acquisition of soft skills. My name is Richard J. Magoma. I am a human resource expert of over 13 years. I am a trainer. I am a writer. I am an events MC. The only thing that I cannot do to save my life is numbers. But there are so many things I do in this city so that I can make ends meet. Tonight, we are going to look at soft skills. Why are soft skills important for career excellence? But first and foremost, before we get into the meat of the discussion, let us ask ourselves, what are soft skills? And what are the hard skills? The hard skills are those skills that you can measure. They are measurable versus the skills now that we call soft. In fact, some scholars have argued the word soft is a mischaracterization, and the correct word, like Harvard Business Review has said, that we should call them power skills. LinkedIn has said that we should call them essential skills, because when you call them soft, it implies that they are not necessary. Yet we know and understand that soft skills are very key towards our career growth. So, ladies and gentlemen, soft skills are subjective in most cases. We cannot measure them. They are qualitative, while the other skills that we call hard, for example, coding, for example, programming, for example, auditing, for example, finance, where you do some calculations. In soft skills, we don't do that. So we have defined briefly what are the soft skills. They are subjective, they are qualitative, and that is why we call them soft. But different scholars have different views on why we shouldn't call them soft. We all want to have a prosperous career. We all want to excel. We are all looking for jobs. And employers, there are those things that they look for a person they consider to be an effective and exceptional employee. They look for hard skills, but they also look for soft skills. Let me introduce to you, and this is one of the things that me and Jay do when we train people to prepare for interviews. There is something called the interview scorecard. I'm sure some of you have encountered an interview scorecard. You will get 3 people administering it during the interview. You'll get 5 people, you'll get 7 people. They have an interview scorecard. And in that interview scorecard, they have decided which skills they are going to look for. And some of the skills they are looking for could include the hard skills. They could include the soft skills that we have defined as probably powerful, essential, and many other definitions of what goes into making soft skills. We have already agreed as thinkers, as scholars, as practitioners, that one of the most vital and critical skill that you need as a professional who wants to grow or who wants to get a job is communication, effective communication skills. Most people imagine that communication skills is about talking alone or writing. Communication skills are wide, broad. It is quite an Amazon forest. And we define communication as the transfer of ideas, feelings from one thing or from one person to the other. So do you have the ability to transfer information from one person to the other? That is very important. During interviews, the assessors or the person who is auditing you during the interview is looking at your ability to transfer feelings, to transfer information, to transfer certain thoughts from yourself to them so that they can be able to understand that you know what the job is all about. And communication includes your ability to write well. And this is something that we have been trained since we started schooling, the writing of compositions, the writing of reports. Do you know how to write reports? The way you are seated, for example, is communicating something. Most people think that communication is talking. Communication is not talking alone. It is the way you are seated. Researchers tell us that 55% of our communication is all about the way you are seated, the way you present yourself. How are you looking? How are you slanted? Are you slowed? You could have the right answer for the question, but is it in alignment with your body language? Our body language, whether you open your mouth or not, you are always saying something. You could give the interviewer the right answer, but is your body language conforming or is it aligned towards what you have just said? You could be saying, I have the answer, but I am anxious, I am fearful. The way you are gesturing, your gestures are always speaking a lot. How are you using your eye contact? And me and Jay, when we train people, we tell people, look at the interviewer, look at the person who has asked you the question. What does it convey? It conveys professionalism, it conveys confidence, it conveys courage. For those people who are shy, you should practice looking at the interviewer or your boss using we say that your eyes are the soul, it gives information about your soul. And in this instance, the soul here means the brain. It tells about you quite a lot. So how do you choose your words when you're communicating? Are you courteous? For example, you say, thank you for asking that question. That question is very close to my heart. That question is something that I am conversant with. Do you have respect when you are communicating to the interviewer? Because that is important. That is also a key indicator of a person who can bring the correct culture. Remember, culture to an organization is important. You can be competent, that is, you have the fitness, you have the skills, but culturally, you are not fit, which means you are communicating how unfit you are in the way you are communicating. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you go to that interview table, use your eye contact, use your gestures very well, be upright, because we are always speaking. It is not about that you have the skills that are needed. It is that you have to include the softer skills to your presentation. And the presentation is very important. It is like you cook good food and you put it in a plate that is not clean. So ladies and gentlemen, package your answers in a very presentable manner. The other thing in communication is the ability to articulate issues, the ability to be concise with your answers, the ability to be clear. Because if you are ambiguous in your communication, people will pick different thought processes, or they will pick different things from what you are saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to excel at that interview table, learn to communicate concisely, learn to communicate with a lot of consideration, learn to communicate clearly. I always tell people, don't underrate. If you are given that responsibility of taking minutes, tell the interviewer in our organization, I am the one who has the responsibility of taking minutes. It looks very small, but to an interviewer knows that minutes have got a lot of implications to the organization. So if you are able to express yourself that you know how to take minutes, for example, you know how to write reports, you have an advantage over a person probably who thinks that communication is about talking. The other important thing about communication, ladies and gentlemen who are in the call, is active listening. I have told you from the beginning that most people think that talking is what constitutes communication. No, you must learn to listen to other people, even if that person who is talking to you has a different viewpoint. And that is where now it's connected towards emotional intelligence, which we will tackle as we move along. Force yourself, discipline yourself to listen, whether it is the person who is cooking tea, whether it is the security person, whether it's a person who has a different position than the one you have. Learn to listen, because you learn a lot. Communication, there's another, that time I was listening to somebody who was saying that there is another time they paid a person from West Africa to come and train them only a single soft skill, active listening. And of course, when we dive into active listening, there is selective listening, there is where you ignore, there is where you are empathetic. There are so many types of listening. So go and research what types of listening or do we have in communication. By the way, if you do not listen to the interviewer, for example, or your boss, you will get the wrong message from what they want you to do. And that is why if you don't get what somebody is saying, tell them, excuse me, I did not get what you say, so that you are answering the correct thing. Communication has been said to be the lifeblood of excellence. Invest in it. Go to webinars, go to seminars where you are taught how communicate.
Richie, sorry, I was in a blackout. You can make me a co-host so that I can manage those people that are not muted.
Okay.
Kindly, guys, Nuku or King, you can mute yourselves. Kindly mute yourselves. You are not the speaker.
I don't know if you are there. You are. Make co-host. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Now you are a co-host. We have said that for us to be very good candidates who shine over the rest, we have to develop our communication skills. And communication skills means how you write, how you use nonverbal communication to pass information, how actively you listen to messages so that you can be able to give the correct information, because there's the element of feedback, and we say feedback is the food for champions. Briefly, ladies and gentlemen, that is what you need to do so that you can be able to stand out. Remember that you want to stand out in a competitive environment. The second soft skill that is important for you, and it has become quite sought after, it is the skill of emotional intelligence. I have seen where brilliant people who have scored very well in their exams lose jobs. Why? Because they have not developed their emotional intelligence. And for those people who have not been able to know or understand what emotional intelligence is, emotional intelligence has 5 building blocks. What are these 5 building blocks? It is self-awareness, the awareness you have about yourself. In philosophy, we call it know thyself. How much do you know about yourself? I saw somebody asking, how can I know my competency? One of the ways of knowing your competencies is self-awareness. What does it mean? The abilities you have, the strengths you have, the skills you have, the biases you have, the weaknesses you have, the stereotypes you have. Because when you go to an interview room, you will be communicating your abilities, you will be communicating your biases, you will be communicating your stereotypes, you will be communicating your weakness. Moreover, interviewers love the question, what are your weaknesses? If you have not done some tests to know what are your weaknesses, you will shy. And Jack can bear me witness. Some people dodge this question. You are not meant to dodge this question. You are not meant to fumble about this question. Like I've told you, if I was told to save my life using mathematics, I'll not be able to do it. Don't mumble about it. Just say that you have that weakness. That is self-awareness. What is the other component of emotional intelligence? Social capital. Sometimes we call it social currency. Are you likable? When you go to an interview, you have to present yourself as a likable person. There are people who go to interviews and present negative attitude. And I can remember today morning, actually, Jay shared a document of somebody who refused to do a test just because their IQ is high. And Jay probably will comment about it. May have a problem with attitude. And if you have an attitude problem, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are, because it means that you will not work with other people because you have attitude problem. So do you have social currency? Do you know how to network? Jay will comment about what we are going to have coffee very soon. Do you know how to network? Do you know how even to greet people? I was telling some people today morning that even greeting is a skill. Greeting people is a skill. Saluting people is a skill. That alone can open doors for you. So you must have social currency. You must devote some of your time checking on people. Checking, how are you doing today? How is your family? How is your birthday? All right? know how to relate to other people. There's a book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It tells us, have an interest with other people before you have an interest on yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to succeed in your business and your career, sharpen your social currency. Use a part of your income to know other people, to meet other people, listen to other people. What is the third component or building block, or what is the other piece of emotional intelligence? And it has become very popular these days. And it is used in selecting who an employer wants to work in their organization. It is empathy. And it is famously defined. It is the ability to be in the shoes of another person. It is not necessarily buying into what they are saying. It is trying to understand the reason, the rationale of why they are doing what they are doing. For example, why is somebody constantly and frequently absent from work? Why is somebody underperforming? You are not condoning underperforming, but you want to understand, like an intelligent person, why is this person absconding duty? Why is this person absent from work all the time? Why is this person who used to be very neat, very elegant, why is he or she not elegant anymore? You go and understand why a person is the way they are, so that you can probably bring in the issue of coaching, so that you can bring in the issue of mentoring, so that you can bring in the issue of training. If you do not have empathy, you are likely to have something we call the curse of knowledge. You assume because you know things, everybody should also know. But when you understand other people, you are able to handle them better. What is the other building block, or what is the other piece of soft skills, or not soft skills, emotional intelligence? It is self-control. How do you control yourself? How do you manage your thought process? How do you manage your feelings? You have seen people who get hit from behind on the road, and some of them bring a pistol and start asking you, do you know who I am? As if you have come to the street to hit people with your vehicle. It means they do not have self-control. They cannot manage their anger. They have anger management issues. If you go to a restaurant where there is a buffet, it does not mean that all the food that has been served in that buffet, you have got to put all of it in your plate. And when we look at your plate at the end of your eating, we discover that you didn't eat all the food. It means then that you do not have self-control. It does not mean that when you have 1,000 shillings, you squander all of it. It does not mean that when somebody abuses you, you also do it in return. It means you do not have self-regulation. And the fifth part of emotional intelligence is how highly motivated you are. How enthusiastic are you with the job? Sometimes an employer could want to see, yes, this person is skilled, but how enthusiastic is this person? How zealous is this person? It's not a question that I want. I've been looking for a job for over several years and I've not gotten. I want to get this job and pay my bills. No. You have to show that you love that job. You have to appreciate that job. what motivates you? What makes you wake up in the morning? Of course, what makes you wake up in the morning are values. What values do you espouse? Organizations have core values. And when I'm training organizations or people, one of the trickiest questions I ask people, tell me your values. And very few people are able to say what it is. And yet we know that it is always on the wall. People don't take interest. Some organizations are driven by excellence. Some organizations are driven by customer-centric philosophies. Some organizations are driven by innovation, the ability to bring new things. Some organizations are driven by creativity. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you go for that interview, what values? I'm not saying that finances do not drive people, but you know, finances are scarce. Money will not always be there, and Jay will confirm this. Money will not always be there for you to be given. You will have money in limited supplies, but values will always be in abundance. Do you respect other people? Some organizations say that respect is important to us. Courtesy is important to us. Diversity and inclusion is important to us. So as you craft your answer, sometimes, you know, you will not be asked, what are your values? But, you know, your values will be expressed the way you communicate, the way you are seated. For example, you are saying, thank you very much for asking that question. Thank you very much for having me. You know, such things, you are oozing optimism. So what are the values? Those are the soft values we are talking about. You will not be asked to define values, but that thing that you are using in communicating, people will draw values. They will make inferences from the way you present yourself. How are you dressed? For example, what are you saying? You know, we are always speaking. That is why I started from the most important soft skill, communication. And people underrate it because they think that once you open your mouth, then you are communicating. No, communication has its principles, has got its secrets that you need to unearth so that you can become a communicator. So I have said communication, and I have said emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, I've said it has got 5 components. It has got how highly motivated you are for that job, what drives you, what makes you wake up. It has got self-awareness. I have said you've got to analyze your abilities, and there are so many tests that you can use. There are KPIs, there are self-assessments that you can use to know about yourself. Your weaknesses, you can use SWOT analysis. You can sit with the J, and then he analyzes your skills, what skills you have. That's another way of understanding your competence. Feedback, 360. Then I've said that you should be a person who has self-control, self-regulation, and then social currency. Sometimes social currency is impaired by maybe doubt. Sometimes it is hampered by imposter syndrome. So somebody keeps to themselves and say, you know me, I'm an introvert, so I cannot. You will lose. I'm not saying that you will not succeed because you are an introvert. There are advantages of being an introvert, and there are advantages of being extroverted. So develop your emotional intelligence. IQ alone will not make you succeed at the interview time or during promotion or during as you progress in the journey that you are progressing to. What is the other skill that employers look for? I told you in the beginning that we have an interview scorecard, and it has something that the employer wants to measure in you. The other thing they look for is creativity. You know, an organization can decide, let us hire somebody from outside because we are used in doing things the same way all the time. So let us inject new blood to our system. So are you creative? Can you bring new perspectives? Can you bring new ideas when you are expressing yourself during the interview? Are you able to say that you were able to bring a new idea? For example, you suggested the bringing of human resource information management system so that it can make work easier, so that it can promote efficiency, so that it can promote accuracy? Are you that kind of person? Are you an idea factory? That is all I'm saying. Are you able to think outside the box? Sometimes we say the box should be removed. Some organizations want total business reengineering. And then you are here bringing generic answers. You will not be hired. You are answering correctly, but you have generic answers. They want somebody who has a total mind shift, something radical, something that will make them be profitable, something that will make them be competitive. Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself, am I creative? Am I a creative person? Am I able to give birth to new ideas? Can you bring new ideas? The other critical thing that employers look for, or a soft skill, is the ability to be a critical thinker. Critical thinking. Critical thinking has to do with objectivity. Are you a person who analyzes something? Are you analytical? Are you analytical? Are you able to analyze a situation? And also it is linked towards problem solving as one of the soft skills that you need to have. Some organizations want to hire somebody who can solve their problems. There are people who see problems and run away. You sympathy stress. And they want somebody who can take that stress and solve it. Do you have the mechanisms of solving problems? Are you a person who questions things, or are you a person who swallows things just like that? Are you able to verify what you are being told, or you swallow the information hook, line, and sinker? Can you question information? My friend, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself whether you are a critical thinker. Are you a person ambaye anaeneza uvumi? Are you a person who relies on rumor? So critical thinking is important. When you are presenting yourself, present yourself as a critical thinker, somebody who is objective. Professionalism, and that requires professionalism. What is the other soft skill? And I've mentioned it briefly in our discussion about motivation. It is passion. I normally see, and I'm sure, Jay, you've read this word 1,000 times. I am passionate about. But are you showing that passion? Are you showing that energy? Are you driven intrinsically? Most people, mi nataka pesa, extrinsic motivation. Employers look for people who are intrinsically driven. You are driven by your internal energy. So when you are greeting somebody, have fun, mean it, be authentic about the greetings, be authentic about the job. Let me see you oozing that energy. Your energy will give you a lot of rewards. Don't hide your energy. Don't be lazy about your energy. Are you the kind of person when it reaches 4:59, your laptop or your desktop has been shut? It is passion or 100% commitment or obsession that will make you go the extra mile. Employers, I participate in interviewing of people, and one of the things that I want to look for, are you a person who can go the extra mile? Are you a person who can, this is, you want to love what you are doing. That is all I'm saying. That is all I'm saying. You have got to show that you love the job, even if you are going to work for free. What do employers look for, ladies and gentlemen? They look for adaptability. If you look at most job descriptions, ladies and gentlemen, you will not miss this word any time. Flexibility and adaptability. You have to be flexible. And also, of course, flexibility and adaptability is related to change management. It's also related to how you can be able to accommodate new things. Or you are the kind of person who will say, kazi yangu inaisha 5, inaanza saa 2. So if you are told, I mean, there's a report that is needed quickly, you will say that I have finished my work at 5. And employers have got a raft of questions that they can be able to see whether you are a person who can go the extra mile, who can go beyond the norm, a person who can go beyond compliance. You know, compliance issues are like you are reporting at 8 and you leave at 5. Compliance is not peak performance. It cannot bring peak performance. What brings peak performance is adaptability and the energy, the 100% commitment you have towards that, the love affair you have with your career. You've got to love your life. You've got to love your profession. You've got to love your business. People have got to see it. So adaptability is something that will earn you a lot of marks, and the interviewers have their own way of assessing your ability to be accommodating. You have to be accommodating because life is about VUCA. I know you understand what is VUCA. VUCA is about things that are uncertain. Life is uncertain. Workplaces are uncertain. Workplaces are volatile. You cannot predict, and it requires you to be flexible. Workplaces are complex. You cannot predict every other time. And sometimes workplaces are ambiguous. And that is why we need to be people who are completely flexible in our thought processes, in the way we do things. Yes, leadership. Leadership. Are you a leader? Professors and doctors and lecturers tell us that leadership is the ability to influence. Do you have the ability to influence? You know, there's a difference between management. Managers rely on policies, they rely on processes, rely on human resource, rely on the human resource manuals. That is what managers do. But leaders rely on influence. And one of the things that you can do, ladies and gentlemen, to influence productivity, efficiency, profitability, it is communication. Leadership is about influence. And we use the tools like communication to influence people, motivation to influence people, your ability to make decisions, your ability to be proactive. If you look at all job descriptions, they say you must be a self-starter because supervision is an expense. And you know, employers love people who reduce costs. Are you a self-starter? Are you proactive? Or you are a person who gets reminded, do this, do that? Are you a self-starter? Can you be able to give us instances of where you started something from scratch? Of course, it's related to creativity and innovation. Are you a self-starter? Are you proactive? Can you start? Do you have the courage? Leadership is also about team building, working with other people. Can you bring other people to work with? Because you cannot work in isolation. You are not an island. You are not the alpha and omega of everything. You will work with finance, you will work with audit, you will work with marketing, you will work with branding, you will work with communication. So you need to bring, you need to synergize, you need to collaborate with other people. And of course, leaders are people who set smart goals. Do you know how to set smart goals? Smart goals, of course, ladies and gentlemen, will say it's about being specific. It's about things that can be measured. It's about attainability of what you have decided to be measured. It is about realistic. Can you set realistic goals, or you will use goals to punish other people? There are professionals who use, and I cannot call them professionals. Mtu anakuchukia tu because they hate you. They will use unrealistic goals to make your life difficult within the organization. And that is how organizations become toxic. And the last bit of SMART, of course, is timeliness. Don't give yourself a blank check. Time yourself. And that also leads us to the other soft skill that is lacking in Africa. I don't know why Africans, Jay, we lack this soft skill. Time management. Time management. I'm glad I'm a friend of Jay. If Jay, you tell him that let us meet 8, he will come 30 minutes early. Time management. Time is money. Time will take you far. Understanding the soft skill of time management. Have a mindset that manages time, because you become productive. And employers have got a way of knowing that this person is a good time manager. Of course, time management, there are tools about time management, online tools of how you should manage time. There is prioritization, for example. There is scheduling. There is having a notebook like this I'm having. Jay, I think you'll give me one of your notebooks when we come for the coffee. Have a notebook where you write your ideas. I always tell people that if you want to excel in an interview, have a notebook where you have written your achievements down. Don't rely on your mind, because we forget very fast. Write your achievements down. Impress people with your achievements, but record, document your achievements. So time management for employers, it is as equal to money. Whoever who said time is money knew one of the secrets of being successful in terms of professional development. So are you a good time manager? Do you know how to manage time? We know, of course, the consequences of not managing time. Leadership is about decision-making. There are people who are decision-making averse. They hate decision-making. They could rather have responsibility to somebody else. And of course, decision-making is tied to leadership. How do you make decisions? Do you use the law? Do you use the HR manual to make decisions? Do you use science? Do you make decisions using data? And we have been told data is the new gold mine. How do you make decisions? Do you consult before you make a decision? Those are the people who are promoted. Those are the people who get jobs. Those are the people who get opportunities. Doors open to people who make decisions. And of course, your decisions have to be based on something. For a professional, you cannot just go to the punctured ozone layer and pick decisions from there. You have got to be persuasive about your decision. And it's good I've used the word persuasion, which is another soft skill that me and you, ladies and gentlemen, need. Persuasion. You have got to, how can you succeed in professional development or marketing or branding if you are not persuasive? Public speaking or communication is about persuasion, convincing, seducing somebody so that they get into your thought processes. How can you manage people in change if you are not persuasive? How do you persuade people? You use logic. Make sure your persuasion has credibility. Branding is about credibility, by the way. It is about trust. We do business with people who we trust. I can easily be persuaded by somebody because they are credible, because they have a brand to themselves. What is the other thing about persuasion? Persuasion is about reciprocating. You must have the ability to reciprocate. How else can somebody persuade you? Their commitment. If some research about an organization, they have read their CVs, the average reading rate of a CV in Kenya is 3. And Jay can be able to tell you. Read your CV as several times as possible. Read it more than 10 times, read it more than 15 times so that you can be able to understand. Have a commitment. Love that organ. Know even their P&L. Know about even their culture so that you are culturally aligned to the organization. Because you can be brilliant, but not culturally aligned. Persuasion. Learn to persuade. Ask yourself, do I know how to persuade? Do I know the science of persuasion? What is the other thing that can be able to persuade people to do things the way you want? Or how can you be able to persuade interviewers that you're the right candidate? Authenticity. If you are authentic, once you leave the interview room, some interviewers will go to your LinkedIn. Jay has mentioned about linked optimization. Is your LinkedIn optimized? You will be able to tell us that you are a communicator. But when you go to your LinkedIn, it is a shamba that has never been dug. It is far, there is no activity at all. You don't share, you don't write, you don't tag anybody. When you go to your Facebook, you are a tribalist, you are a chauvinist, you are all sorts of things. And that is what background does. Because after you leave the interview room, there are people who are called background checkers. They check your background. They check your background. What are you saying on your LinkedIn? What are you saying on your TikTok? What are you saying on your Instagram? That is background check. They dig. Most people think that background check is about checking whether you stole or whatever they could want to look. No, it goes beyond. In fact, sometimes I assist people in applying for jobs. And one of the things that I've seen, especially banks, they'll say, give us the link to your LinkedIn. What are they going to do? They are going to see what you've been doing. Because a CV can say other things, but a LinkedIn page can show consistency. Your social media, how you have branded yourself, can say a lot of things. Persuasion is also related to negotiation. If you're in marketing, do you know how to negotiate? Do you know how to negotiate with other organizations? Do you know the principles of negotiation? How do you prepare for negotiation? For HR people, do you know how to negotiate with shop stewards, for example? Do you know how to negotiate with your bosses so that they can approve budgets? You have to learn, you have to invest in being persuasive, you have to invest in it. If you want to get hired, if you want to get promoted, if you want to be visible, you have to learn to negotiate with other people, with other professions. And it has to be deliberate. It is not a hit and miss thing. It is something that you have to invest money and effort in it to become persuasive, to become a very good negotiator. And there are so many books, articles, podcasts that can teach you how to be persuasive, how to be convincing when you're presenting a particular case to. Where there are people, there will always be differences in interpretation, in the way they are seeing things. Some people will follow the law, some people will follow their feelings, some people will be prejudiced. What am I talking about? I'm talking, do you have that soft skill of conflict resolution? Can you solve differences? Can you solve differences? Because life rises and falls on the differences that are existing. Are you the Kofi Annan of conflict resolution? Can you bring people together, or you will just throw up your hands and say, kila mtu amekuja kufanya kazi? It is the people who know how to resolve conflicts who get hired or who get opportunities to work. And there are so many courses of mediation, reconciliation. Generally, how you solve differences is important for your career, is important for your business. I don't know how much time we have, Jay. So conflict resolution, understand there are so many courses that you can enroll and even get money out of it. Be a person who resolves conflict. That is what defines leadership. Leadership is about solving conflicts that exist in workplaces or businesses.
The
other thing that I love,
Richie, yes? we can do. You can finalize, and then we can take questions in the next maybe 10 minutes.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Jay. The last soft skill that I could encourage you to have by default is coaching, mentoring. You must have the ability to equip people with the necessary skills. Do you know how to train? You have to invest in training people. You must train those people who are coming after you. You must train interns. You must train people. You must learn. I saw somebody saying, and learn, relearn, and so on and so forth. You must have the ability to coach people. Whether you do a certified program, whether you do your own paced form of learning how to mentor people, you have to. People who transfer skills are valued. During the interview, convince people that I am a trainer, I am a coach, I am a mentor, I trained 6 interns, I trained executives. You must learn to transfer skills from one person to the other. You become very valuable. You have to develop your learning and development skills. That is how, ladies and gentlemen, you will open opportunities that are endless, that are limitless. Communication skills, emotional intelligence skills, conflict resolution skills. Of course, let me briefly mention about confidence. Confidence, you must have it. You must have courage when you're going for that interview, when you're going for that promotion, when you want to be visible. You must develop your courage. And there are so many tools. Ask yourself, what are the sources of my confidence? Wengine wanasema because I'm prayerful. Wengine wanasema because I'm competent. Some have say that I'm competent because I have a value system, and so on and so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a wonderful delight to exchange this particular information to you. I hope you had a wonderful time. Thank you so much. God bless. Let's take questions.
Wow, Richie, that was so informative and insightful. And I believe that the participants have been able to learn one or two things. And moving forward, you're going to be different people. Soft skills is something that is very, when you hear soft skills, most of us take it as very basic. And we don't give it the attention that it deserves. We only concentrate on building our technical skills and leave the soft skills behind. So we had some questions that had been asked before on the expectations and what we expect for this session. So we have Diana that talked about how should an interviewee greet people in the panel?
How should an interviewee greet people in the panel?
Yes.
That is a very important question, and thank you, Diana. I don't know if Diana was asked you.
Diana, yes.
And that is why, and that is why it's important to think on your feet. You have to read the mood of your interview room. You have to read the mood of the interview. Sometimes you can go to the interview room and nobody greets you. You have to break the ice. If it is in the evening, say, good evening, I am Diana, so-and-so, I've come here for an interview, assuming they don't greet you. But there are rooms which are professionalized, where you get, we also have interviewers who are not professional. But in a place where there is professionalism, you will be interviewed, you'll be greeted and told to sit down. If there is reason to introduce other people will be introduced. So which means that the issue of greeting has been catered for, either by you, by reading the mood, initiating the greetings, or the chairperson of the interviewing committee will introduce the panel to you, which means that then the issue of greeting has been taken care of. But if the issue is you go and you do not get greeted, for me, I will advise you can greet them and tell them that you are so-and-so, you come for an interview, and then probably that person who is in charge of the interview will tell you to sit down, and then they will proceed to ask you questions. There are occasions where if the occasion requires, you can greet somebody, and make sure you have a managerial, a leader's greeting, if that is what the situation requires. There are people, because of attitude, they may not like to shake your hand because of so many things. So you have got to quickly, there is no one size fits all. It is up to you to have the intuition to see what you should do. But for the love of God, make sure that you break the ice, or the person who is going to interview has broken the ice. So there are no hard and fast rules on who should greet the other person. It is you to read the room, what it is. And the internet has got so many ways of telling you what you should do about greetings. But greetings, it is the greatest invention of creating relationships. We use greetings to create relationships. So use your greeting abilities to create a difference. Yes, Jay?
Thank you so much, Coach, for that. And then the other question was on where can we get, which short courses can we take to learn the important soft skills?
That is a very good question. Thank you for asking. I train soft skills, and even Jay trains soft skills. And Katiba, I have seen Esther Katiba here. She also trains. You can decide where you should go. You can also do Alson. They have those packages. there are very many organizations, but of course, why should you take your time to online when we have Jay, when we have Richard, when we have Katiba, and so many other people who can be able to do. You will not break a bank to learn communication, emotional intelligence, persuasion. I and Jay can even probably bring master classes, but of course, with a fee, with some big fee there. So there are so many. There are universities that are offering soft skills, but of course you have to pay for the certificate. So there are so many choices of where you can get trained. Like I train in public speaking. If you want to be an eloquent speaker, you can talk to me so that we can see how it goes. Over to you, Jay.
Thank you so much, Richie. I can see that there are some that have joined late. I think I'll be sharing I'll be uploading this to our YouTube channel once you're done, maybe in 30 minutes or so. And also, I don't see any more questions. I think these are really sunk in our audience today. And I'm sure that moving forward, if we meet in town, if we meet anywhere in the interviews, feel free to connect and also make sure that you exemplify what you've just learned today. Thank you for the insightful presentation. I love to stay connected and continue learning from your experts. May I know how you are listed on LinkedIn so that I can send a connection request? Richie, you can share your LinkedIn account URL. Maybe you can share that on your behalf as well. We have Grace. I can see your hand is up. Feel
yes,
free
Jay.
to. Yes.
Good evening, Richie and Jay. So,
Good evening.
my question is on the soft skills. Richie mentioned about empathy. One of the skills that recruiters look for is empathy. But how will they know that you're empathetic when they're hiring you, like on the spot? Like, let's say if it's an interview, then you get to be selected. Is it something that they now realize later whether you have or not, or how does that come about?
I wish I could throw the question back to you, Grace. But empathy is your ability to be respectful. It's your ability to be courteous. It is your ability to be considerate. There are so many questions I can ask you. For example, if you show people why they should get involved in change management because people resist change, if you are asked a question about why do people resist change, do you throw your hands up and say things that are difficult? Or you are a person who will involve other people? There are so many questions, Grace, that somebody can ask you to indicate that you are empathetic. When, for example, you can be asked, how do you manage stress?
Yes.
That is an empathetic question. You can be asked, how do you manage stress? Or give us a difficult situation that you managed involving an employee. Or how do you manage, for example, death? All right? If that organization wants to employ somebody who has emotional intelligence, and one of the things that it's about empathy, then questions which are structured or unstructured that will generate empathetic answers. So questions, it is questions generally. If they want to hire somebody who is highly emotionally intelligent, they will formulate questions. They can be structured questions, they can be unstructured. Like the person, I don't know if Jay can speak about it, like the person who was given a chance to do a test and he was very rude, that person does not have emotional intelligence. Already you are able to know that this person does not have emotional intelligence, because self-control is part of emotional intelligence. And those things, even if they are different building blocks, they are integrated. They are so aligned to each other. They are related. So it's very easy, Grace, to know an empathetic person by asking questions.
Thank you, Richie. I now understand. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jay.
You're welcome. If you want to have a feel of it, you can reach me. I test you if you can be able to.
I will reach you.
Out.
I'll reach you. No problem. I'll be in your inbox after this dinner.
Thank you so much, Richie. Thank you so much, Grace. I think Richie has shared his contact on the chat section. I've as well shared his LinkedIn URL on the chat section. Feel free to connect with him so that you can continue learning more and more from him. And without any other discussion or questions, I feel we can end our session today, this evening at this point. So I'd like to request a volunteer to close for us. Sheila, are you there? Sheila Njau? Yes, Sheila Njau is one of us at JCVs, and she's good in event planning. She has several soft skills. So I would like her to pray for us as we close this session this evening. Thank you so much, Sheila. Karibu.